Islam is my sight. Now I found the light. After those long dark nights, now my world is bright. Islam is my sight. Now my world.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Straight Path. I'm your host, Faoud Mohamed. Well, I'm privileged again to have wa alaikum assalam and his very good friend and brother in Islam, Muhammad Rahman, and as well, not strange to the viewers, brother Abdur Rahman Hans Nelson, as well as brother Abdullah Pereira. Okay, my first question is directed to brother Muhammad. We were talking last time about the great story of how Sheikh Yusuf entered Islam, found the light, alhamdulillah. But, I mean, you knew Sheikh Yusuf before he accepted Islam.
All right.
What was he like?
What I have seen exactly at that period was Sheikh Yusuf was a person searching for the truth.
That's true.
This is the best, the most accurate way to answer your question, sir.
MashaAllah. And did he look like he was likely to accept Islam when you first met him?
It never came to my mind that the gentleman back then would go into this kind of a deal, Islam, debating and bargaining with me and all this stuff. It was a business, as I mentioned before. We just started a business. But I didn't realize also that they had a plan that will turn me to Christianity.
That was our goal.
Yeah, I even didn't realize that it was so nice. And so, great hospitality and good manners of Ahl al-Kitab. They were practicing, really. I'm saying that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because He's here. Now, a matter of fact, I thought that we were going to embrace Islam if I succeed to give it simple and clear to them. There was a great deal of confusion in their life about Islam.
Did you feel that way, Sheikh Yusuf?
Well, in the beginning, of course, my only goal was to convert him to go to Christianity. And I was ready to enlist any kind of help that I could get. That's why I brought in a Catholic priest. I brought in a born-again preacher. My father was an ordained minister. My wife is a born-again Christian. We had all our different versions of the Bible out there. And we tried a lot of things to get this guy to come over. And he's right, though, when he says that we had confusion ourselves about Islam, but also, maybe he doesn't remember, but there was a big confusion we had about Bibles.
Yeah, I remember that also.
Do you recall what happened when somebody, right after I did Shahada, it was like the next day, there was a guy and this girl, they came driving up and they were trying to sell the children's Bible to us. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that incident also.
Yeah, and we brought them in. And the first thing I said to them was, please, if you can give us light. I mean, we don't have anything to say except we're listening to you. If you can show us that this is the truth. Over what? Over the Quran.
Brother Muhammad, it brings me to a point here as well. Were you ever trained to give da'wah?
A little bit. Not in a school with a certificate and kind of graduation program.
So you had no experience though?
No. I was reacting as a Muslim.
Subhanallah.
How did you know, subhanAllah, I'm an American, and back in my home country, I know a lot of people who are searching for the truth. And I feel really frustrated. I've told them the basics of Islam and they understand it. But how do you move forward? Like, how do you move beyond that? What did you see in Sheikh Yusuf Estes, or what? It's ultimately from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah,
but what did you do differently than what perhaps a lot of people in the States aren't doing? Because I know a lot of people in America are asking questions.
I agree with you.
But how do you go beyond?
I go beyond by trying to live Islam, not to talk about it only. I mean, to talk about it is also good and it's important. But now to live in the small thing, like the financial thing. If we were prayer times to be accurate, they would just read the question why these guys are praying just one time, 5 times a day, etc. Now if if this happens, you might move that dead end to an open way for them at least to think about it. Now also, it's actually kind of not an easy test. You have to watch yourself so much. This is my answer.
How do you mean watch yourself?
Watch yourself, the way you speak. You may use the words which you know, you and I know.
Yeah.
You get angry like this, or you get just, But if you are as a Muslim, I don't want to take much of the time for my brother to speak to, but I would like to tell you that a brother was here in Egypt from California. He lives now in California. That's Brother Khalid. And then, Brother Khalid, I asked him, how did you embrace Islam? He said, with a guy working me in Home Depot. And that was a Palestinian who was so much of high manners, so polite. The years in Home Depot, he never insulted anybody.
Yeah.
Never been insulted by nobody. He was just a hard-working fellow with all kinds of smile, as Brother Yusuf said yesterday, and all this. Then Khalid turned to Islam because of that guy. He told me that there are some brothers here who know Khalid in person. So, I mean, what Rasulullah says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. If you speak and explain the Aqidah and history of Islam and Seerah, this is good, of course.
Of course.
But for the people in North America or in Europe, you need to have akhlaq. You need to have them anyway, regardless.
Okay, yeah. Just to stop you on that point, Sheikh Yusuf, I mean, seeing that the point of akhlaq, we're talking about akhlaq. I mean,
translate akhlaq. What is so the viewers will know. Okay, English speakers remember.
The good manners.
Good manners.
Yes. What was the first thing that impressed you?
The moment I met him.
Really?
The very second I met him, I was impressed. I didn't want to be, by the way. I had already figured out. When my father came to me, he said, we're going to do business with a man from Egypt. Immediately, hey, this is a good idea. The Nile River, the pyramids, the Sphinx, you call him Abu Hol.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And, I'm thinking Cleopatra. And then my father said he's a Muslim. A what? A Muslim? Oh, man. And I remember telling Dad, they're kidnappers, hijackers. These guys are bombers. They don't believe in God even. They worship some black box in the desert. They're kissing the ground 5 times a day. Come on, man, what's this? And my father said, no, he's nice. You're going to like him. And I'm thinking, no way I'm going to like this guy. My father insisted I got to meet him. Okay, on my condition. He said, what's your condition? I said, my condition is I have to come straight from church. Okay. And when I come from church, I'm going to have my Bible with me. I'll have my cross with me. And I'll have my hat on, which said what?
Yeah, Jesus
is Lord. Hey, you remember that?
Yeah.
And here I came, And I was ready to defend America and religion against the demon Islam. I was ready. Why? Because I'm imagining in my mind, what is he going to even look like? And I'm thinking, this guy is going to be, big, giant with this big robe on, and he's going to have this, what do you call it, jalabiya, and he's going to have a big imama.
Yeah.
You call it turban. Big turban, yeah. And he's going to have a huge beard like this, and he's going to have one eyebrow goes all the way across. And he's going to have, he's going to have a sword right here, And so when I meet this guy, I'm looking at him. He don't have, in those days, he didn't even have a beard. He didn't have any hair. He was bald, Sorry. No improvement.
But what do you think was responsible for your first impression?
I got to be careful what I say. We're trying to find him a wife. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, we'll get back to work.
That's another plan. You guys have plans, man. One way or another,
Anyway, so now here I see him, and I go, huh? This is the guy? My father said, yes, this is the man. I was surprised. I put out my hand, and I got a good, warm handshake. I don't know why I thought it was going to be like, I just had this mentality problem. Right away, though, I said, hello, how are you? What did I say right away? You believe in God?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe in God?
Your salam for him.
Yeah, hello, how are you? Do you believe in God?
Well, that has been said to me in more than one occasion, but said Sheikh Yusuf was the first one to say ever in America when we met. But after that, looks like it's normal there. If you know somebody coming from somewhere else, they ask him, hey, do you believe in God?
I ask him if he believed in God. Do you believe in, what about Adam? Do you know Adam is the first man? He said, yeah. I'm asking him about Abraham. I'm asking in a heartbeat. Yeah. If he wanted to do like, debate, show up, something like this, he could have killed me right there out. Because when I said about Abraham, do you know who's Abraham? He is from Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. This man is from the descendants of Fatima and from Ali. Now, they can trace their ascendancy, that's the upper version of descendancy, their ascendancy all the way back to Abraham. He could have just said, yes, I know about my grandfather. What would you like to tell me about him? I mean, this is the kind of smart aleck answer you would get from us in the West, right?
Yeah.
But see, Islam is not teaching us to do that.
Yeah.
And he was very kind, very patient. Even I took you out and we went and had a glass of tea there in the mall. You remember? We
Next door.
I had my Bible, whipped it out right away. I started reading to him about what? Genesis, about Abraham and Ismail and Ishaq.
Yeah.
I'm reading to him. And he could have said, no, that story's wrong because this is this and that's that, but you guys are okay because, But he didn't. He just sat there and saying, My curiosity, I got to ask you. While I was sitting there, you were sipping your tea, and I was just rattling and
what was going through your mind?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was thinking about those stories in the Bible versus the same stories in the Holy Quran. And what we understand in it as Muslims, and what the other understand. They believe also in the same prophets and everything, Ahlul Kitab, you know what. So I was saying this what was in my mind back then, that a good guy like this is so friendly and so polite, but he's not a Muslim. He's reading the Bible, looks, he is having a religious attitude in him. He had the attitude of being religious anyway. Whether he's a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim, it's good to be religious and know God somewhere or another. No, but this still needs a little correction. Why we don't, in the Islamic world, go and give them, extend the correction. We don't have a great difference. So we have to correct certain things about Jesus, about Abraham, about Ismail, about the other prophets in the Bible, unfortunately, as we understood even before I leave to America from the Bible, is that some prophets are so and so and so, and that attracted the attention of many people.
Islam is my...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the Straight Path. Sheikh, just taking you back to the beginning, when I asked you about your first impression about Sheikh Yusuf, you said he was, for you, it's someone searching for the truth.
Yes, exactly.
These are also brothers who have accepted Islam 5 years ago. I mean, did you guys feel that as well?
To me, I was a Christian before. I was raised in a Catholic church in France. And when I was very young, I was not aware about different religions. But I remember asking myself every time about Trinity. And by, you can say, like 17 years old, I started to feel that I was lost. That Christianity doesn't give me the real answers. And I wonder if Sheikh Yusuf, in this very moment, did he feel like a bit confused? As many Christians, I think maybe most of the Christians, I don't know. But I was confused, and I felt like Christianity is not a complete religion. And I wonder if every Christian has this feeling in his heart.
Well, to answer your question, there are things that a lot of people are not willing to admit about themselves. So if you would ask somebody, for instance, are you lost? Guy, I know where I'm going. Well, this is the third time you've been around the block. Well, so maybe I'm looking for a place to park. So we don't want to admit it. Well, we don't,
So were you like that in the beginning as well?
This is a problem in America. Americans, we will never ask anybody for directions. Never. We will drive till we run out of gas, but we're not going to ask for directions. Here in this country, it's the opposite. These guys, no problem asking for directions. The problem is the guy you ask, he has got to tell you something even if he has no clue. Yes, you go 3 blocks this way, turn that way 2 blocks, come back this way. Yeah, when you get back here, I'll see if I can figure out where you're going.
What about you, Abdur?
Well, subhanAllah, that's so true. Americans do not ask for help. They do not ask for help. Especially for men, it's a big thing.
Oh,
it's a big thing. Just
if your wife's in the car and you're lost, you got a real problem.
To pull over to the gas station and ask for directions. But for me, I was raised Christian as well. I grew up in a small, well, you'd say village here in Egypt. I mean, it's just a small town, about 2,000 people. I only knew Christianity, but I had a lot of doubts about Christianity, and I used to argue with the pastor quite often. And I didn't feel comfortable with Christianity. I didn't feel comfortable with my faith. I believed in God the whole time, and subhanAllah, every night I would pray. I would pray. As Christians pray like this, and they kneel down on the bed, and there's the Lord's Prayer. I was Protestant, I was Lutheran. So we used to do this. I used to do this every day, and whenever I had problems, I'd still make the cross on myself. I don't know why. I had this connection. But I didn't believe in the Trinity and so forth. And when I went to college, and I would say this was in my teen years, when I went to college, I wouldn't even call myself a Christian. And I didn't call myself a Christian, I should say. I had some friends who tried to bring me to the church, one in particular, and I remember arguing with them all the time. I used to study philosophy, so I was very far from religion, but I couldn't do away with the concept of God. Until, subhanAllah, Allah destined for me to meet a brother from Pakistan.
Okay.
And Friday night, after doing what you do on a Friday night, and I'm from a big school where they are known for this, I would come and find this brother taking a break from studying, and I'd sit down with him, and I would be drunk, and I'd sit and talk with him about Islam, about religion, and he was very, very patient, would talk to me and talk to me and talk to me. So, and eventually, mashallah, the brother asked me for shahada. He said, why don't you become Muslim? Obviously, I wasn't intoxicated at the time. But he asked me, he said, why don't you become Muslim? You believe in the basics. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Become Muslim. And I did. I made ghusl in his house the day of Jummah. And became Muslim. And that was maybe within 9 months.
You mentioned a very good point there as well, patience.
Yeah.
You had to put up a lot of patience with Sheikh Yusuf.
Yes. He actually, patience in a way, like explaining things. Sheikh Yusuf, very smart in debates. He was trained on them.
From Texas, Texas pastor.
Yes, he was trained.
Even before the pastor.
He was
drama, debates.
No, mashallah.
So he used those weapons, and that's why I had to be patient.
Did the patience in him affected you?
Actually, I didn't know he was being patient with me. I just thought I was educating him.
What did he do?
Well, for instance, when we were working together, and we would be traveling a long way to come home. So on the way back, I'm driving, right? And so I would be debating with him on any subject. We would pick this subject, that subject.
That's right.
And we would start debating this, debating that. And the problem was, I would feel like I'm really coming down, especially in psychology, philosophy, theories, theology. And so, subhanAllah, but at the end of each time, he would come with something that I'd think, I didn't think of that. He would do this. Finally, shall I tell what happened?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I tell this on TV?
Of course.
Okay, well, we were that one day, right before I entered Islam, I remember.
Yes,
You and I, we were coming back, it was Sunday.
Yes.
We were coming back, I think from Alvarado or somewhere. And on the way back, I was thinking, what can we debate about that I can beat this guy? And he was very shy. The word is shy, yeah? He still is.
MashaAllah.
And so I said, I got it. I said, okay, let's debate today about nudism. He said, what? I said, nudism, people not having clothes. He just sat there, he didn't say anything. So I started going on about, you're born with no clothes on, so why put any clothes on? Does it make any sense? And I started going, I know it's his turn. He said, you know, I don't want to talk about this. So when we got home, I never forget, we got home, remember Granny Faye had dinner ready, everything,
yes.
and the ladies were there and everything, and I said, I beat him in a debate today, I beat him in a debate, you remember?
Yes.
And they said, oh, okay, like, who cares? But I'm going, no, you know how, and I told them how we argued about, and I win, because he wouldn't even talk about it. What was it? Nudism. And the ladies looked at me like, what a clod. I still didn't get anywhere.
That's a fitrah. She was a striking example of a lady on fitrah. She was not a Muslim, of course, but she caught the train in the very last moment, as Sheikh Yusuf told
She was almost 85 when she did her shahada. She died a few months later.
Allah accepted her, inshallah. Okay,
yes, sir.
Let's talk about the point where Sheikh became Muslim. I mean, the very moment he was declaring the shahada, what different did you see in him?
I saw the changing in the last, let's say, 1 month of the whole thing. I started seeing the difference on Sheikh Yusuf in his acts, his face, his reactions, like something going to its destination. I started getting then the feeling that most probably this guy is gonna turn to Islam. But the moment he said in that hall near the TV in Midlothian House, when you made the Shahada, his face, I saw that in every case actually. I saw a Muslim, a new Muslim making the Shahada. Something with a very American, Filipino, Mexican in Texas always come, to the mosque, see the things. I don't know how to explain that, but maybe all of us saw that difference at that moment. But subhanAllah, I thought sometimes maybe because we are so glad and happy that this is happening now, we see that, but I don't think also that this is the reason. The man changes, man.
Yes.
You go, of course, and say, Assalamu alaikum, Mabruk ya akhi, congratulations, alhamdulillah, ila akhirih. You will see something, I don't know how to describe it.
And you can't, I don't think any of us could describe how it feels once you become Muslim. I will never forget when that happens. It feels something in your heart.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the very moment. I'll never forget the very moment. I don't think.
Yourself as a...
What about you, Abdullah?
Me, myself, I didn't feel it straight away. I took the shahada in the mosque, and then I took the train. And when I was alone in the train, I had this feeling like I was born again.
Yes,
exactly like this. I was born again. I felt like I was something new. It's just like, I don't know, like a snake with a new skin or something. Maybe the snake is not a good example, but I had this feeling that I was born again, and the new life started. A very new life started, and I didn't have this feeling of every time I was asking myself, why am I here for? Who's my Lord? Where am I going? What I'm going to do? I was not anxious about the financial life, and life was easy financially, but I felt empty. And after I became Muslim, I had another feeling, very, very different, very self-confident. I felt very strong.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, thank you very much. And the message to the viewers, never, never underestimate the person who you're giving da'wah to. And that wraps it up for today's show, The Straight Path. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I found the light after those long dark nights. Now my world is bright. Islam is my sight. Now I found the light after those long dark nights. Now my world is bright. Islam is my sight.